This is Sarah Squires bringing you behind the headlines in today's edition of WyoToday Newsroom. Today, I am joined by senior reporter Mark Gukin and features reporter Austin Bektos. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, Sarah.
Yeah, we're doing another reporter roundtable. You know, sometimes on a Wednesday morning, there's a lot of action that happens on the Tuesday night before with our government. This is Sarah Squires. This is Sarah Squires bringing you behind the headlines.
Hello. Hello. Okay.
Well, happy Friday morning, everyone. Cody Beers here, and a studio full of folks from Shoshoni High School joining us here. We've got Andrew Garcia, voice of the Lander Tigers. He's also calling some baseball for us this summer. We've got Ryan Gilbertson and Natalie Gilbertson here representing Shoshoni basketball. And we've got Tony Truempler on the line. We'll talk about whether he's going to stay around or if he's going to retire after 13 years at Shoshoni. But first, we'll get into some Riverton Raiders baseball. The Raiders won the only tournament last weekend played in the state down in Laramie. They would beat the Casper Wildcatters in the championship game of the tournament 12-5, capped off a perfect 6-0 week for the Raiders. Raiders now 16-12 on the season and 4-2 in conference play. And Andrew, I know you're looking forward to calling some baseball this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I already did a game or two in May, so they're doing a really good job this season. I'm looking forward to doing some more baseball.
Well, the Raiders go 6-0 without their manager, Stephen Rennig, who was down in Kansas getting married last weekend. We'll go over some scores in that tournament last week. It was the Raiders 9, Wheatland 3, Raiders 8, Douglas 0. On Saturday, last Saturday, it was the Raiders beating the Cheyenne Hawks 7-1, and then they came back Sunday and beat the Casper Wildcatters 12-5 in the championship game. Other baseball played this week. The Casper Wildcatters beat the Lander Legends 6-1. That was a conference matchup. In Game 2, also a conference game, the Wildcatters beat the Lander Legends 14-5. Let's see. Last night at 6 o'clock, don't have a score yet on that one, down at the Green River Invite, the night invite, the Riverton Raiders played the Utah Yaks last night at 6 p.m. Today they play the Pocatello Razorbacks at 3:30. Tomorrow the Raiders will take on the Pocatello Idaho Rebels at 8 a.m., and then they'll take on the Green River Knights at 10:30 a.m. And then they'll come back and play, depending on how they do in pool play, come back and play either Rock Springs, Green River, or Douglas on Sunday. Hopefully it's again for a championship of that tournament. But did want to welcome in Andrew. And how's the leg feeling, man?
The leg's doing good. We made great progress along the way, so doing great.
Well, that early February injury was an ugly one. I've used your injury in some talks about the problems we have in Fremont County with ambulance services. It took nearly an hour for that ambulance to show up. Do you recall what was going on then? I mean, it got really quiet at Wyoming Indian High School, and I think everybody had genuine concern on both sides for your health at that point. Do you remember that?
Of course I do. I remember. So the funny thing is I don't remember anything about the game at all. Everything before that, I just have very little memory of. But everything after that, I hit the floor, I heard the snap, everything after that I remember. So, but the game itself, I do not remember. But everything after that, I do remember, and I always will, most likely.
Sure. Your teammates went on and had a pretty good season, and I know it was probably tough to watch, but you were there every game, and they really came together.
Yeah, it was awesome to see, and I was happy to be a part of it. Obviously I would have loved to have been playing, but, to watch them go out and do what a lot of people didn't think that they could do was, I never really had words for them in the locker room, and I wanted to praise them, but, I could have kept going about the amount of adversity they had to go through, before I even went down, after I went down. They proved a lot of people wrong, and I'm excited to see what they could do this upcoming season as well.
All right, Andrew, we're going to switch gears a little bit and go out to the phone lines. Shoshoni head football coach Tony Truempler joining us. And, Coach, thanks for your patience this morning. I saw an ad a couple weeks ago running advertising for a head football coach in Shoshoni. What's up, man?
Oh, just I did resign from football at the end of the year. Just wanted to do some other things. I have a grandson now. They live in Alaska, so I wanted to maybe get up there and do some hunting with them. Just been doing it a long time. Love the sport, love the kids, love the school. Just wanted to try some other things. Have a couple other things that I'm working on. So tested the waters and trying to see if maybe it's time to do something else.
Are they getting any applications, or are you going to say, I'll come back for another year?
I don't know for sure. I've been gone, so I haven't been at the school or talked to a lot of people. But I did tell Mr. Robinson that if, toward middle of July, if we don't have applicants and stuff, I'll definitely stay on for another year. I would never leave, just high and dry, anything like that. So.
Well, 13 years, Tony, 10 years in the playoffs. Of course, that 3-year run, I was privileged to call many of these football games, 7-3 in 2020, 10-1, and your state championship in 2021. And then 2022, you were right there at 9-2, 26-6 in those 3 seasons, 121 games under the belt. Does it seem like that time has passed you by? I mean, it's probably been a rush.
Yeah, it went by quick. I started as an assistant. Actually, I believe after Ryan left, I came on as an assistant to help Marty Weber for a few years. And it's been a long time. There's been a lot of kids that have come through Shoshoni that they're all, like I said, great kids. And it's been a long time, but it's been really fast. It doesn't seem like it's been that long at all.
Well, you had the privilege of coaching your boys too.
Yeah, that's all. That was a blast to get to coach them, and and all the boys. There's so many memories that I have from each and every boy, not just my own kids. It's fun. We were just last weekend at a restaurant, and I ran into a couple old players, and we just sat for probably an hour and talked about just some of the shenanigans that they would pull during practice and stuff. And it does make you feel old because these guys are, some of these guys have kids of their own now. So, and they don't have a problem telling you that you're getting old either.
Right. It's a warm feeling when you see a former player and they still call you coach.
Yeah, definitely.
Tony, so next year, if you do come back, this might be a little bit of a awkward question, but I saw also that they're looking for different coaching staff. Do you like bringing back the same coaching staff? Would that be a priority heading into next year if you are to return to be the head coach?
Well, that would be my idea. I mean, I can't speak for the other coaches, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and say if I come back, they're all coming back. They're grown men. They can do what they want. But that would be my number one priority, yes, is to try to get everybody back in the fold for one more year. I know Mr. Good has daughters that are in high school now, or a daughter in high school, and his other daughter's getting older, and so she's involved in sports. So I know that was one of his big things, is maybe getting able to spend more time watching them. Football is very time consuming. Even we practice all week, and then as soon as the game's over, we're watching film. Mr. Good, he's a fanatic about film watching, and I'll be honest, he probably watches more film than I do. And I watch a lot of film, and he watches 10 times more. I don't think he ever sleeps, so definitely would be a priority to bring him back for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I've had the privilege of course, going to Shoshoni, and kind of the early years of my high school years were those dominant years with Peyton, with Cannon, and so it's really awesome to see that. And then obviously the kids in my class had great runs as well. But over the years, I would say wondering, what was your favorite run? I would guess probably the state championship, correct?
Yeah, that was probably my favorite run. I had a couple of years before that with JJ Pingetcher's class, Jason Thorne, Coulter, Jordan's class. We had a good run there. We lost in the quarters to Southeast. You know, that was a weird season. As we just kind of my varsity guys didn't get to play a lot because we would be so far ahead during the regular season and our regular season games that we'd pull them sometimes at halftime. And so when honestly, probably I still think is one of my biggest coaching mistakes is when we got to the playoffs. My varsity guys really weren't ready to play that much because they're only allowed to play a half a game because we were so far ahead that we would pull them. And I don't think I prepared them well enough. And that's a fine line there. You know, you can't just totally run up the scoreboard on somebody because then you look like a complete jerk. But then I also feel like we kind of did them a disservice because we weren't ready to play a 4-quarter game against a high caliber team like a Southeast and the Tongue River and stuff like that. So that was a blast. We went undefeated in the regular season, and you know, we lost in like I said, the first round of the playoffs, and it was just kind of an eye opener of just how you have to balance the seasons. But yeah, by far, probably the state championship run for us was probably the three. I would say the 4 years leading up to that, that was a rebuilding process, and it was fun to kind of go through. We totally revamped our offense, and I made a promise to the boys that, when I took over that we would find an offense and we wouldn't change it and we'd stick to it, because there for a while we were changing offenses, it seems like every year. And when I became the head coach, that was kind of what the promise I made to the team, and it really paid off because by the time we made our championship run, these guys knew the offense, and we didn't really have to do a whole lot of coaching those last 3 years. It was they kind of knew what was going on. So
yeah, for sure. I remember that championship, a lot of excitement in the school. So yeah, good for you, Tony. Whatever you do, you're definitely up there with probably one of the greatest football coaches in Shoshoni history. Obviously, I don't know like the exact like time Shoshoni was origin or whatever, but obviously I'll always see you as a football coach, and so that's awesome to see what you've done over the great years.
Thank you. And it really boils down to the people that I got to learn from. I got to learn from Mr. Weber and all those guys. Rick Lindblad came in as an assistant for him for a while. Carl Rice came. I mean, so I was really privileged to get to work with really good guys and really good football coaches before I took the helm. It was kind of a when I took the head coach, it was kind of a who wants it type thing. I was Mr. Mills, myself, and Drew Paraguay on the coaching staff, and Mr. Lindblad left, and pretty much we were told that one of us have to take it. So we pretty much kind of drew straws to see who was going to take it. And I drew the short straw at the time, and it was a good short straw draw for me because I like I said, I enjoyed it. And, I just had a great staff since I started. My assistant coaches have been awesome, from Drew Paraguay, Max Mills, Jody Good, Toby Wood when he was with us. They're just it's been easy to coach because it's fun when you have guys that have the same passion that you do, and they're just fun to work with. Eric Murphy came on the last couple of years. He's learned so much. He does a lot of our conditioning and weight training stuff now. I don't know if I stay, if he'll come back with him running for sheriff and stuff, but and just the volunteers, the kids that come back and want to help out when they're home and stuff. It's just truly cool to see, and I think that's just the small school atmosphere, is that it is a family. Even the guys that don't play football anymore, like Andrew, you were always there and stuff like that, and you were brought. It's just fun to be around the atmosphere. Win or lose, the Shoshoni's always been super supportive of the program and all their programs.
Shoshoni really is a shining light in eastern Fremont County. Tony, you've been making that commute for years. What is the special thing about Shoshoni and Wrangler football?
It's just the smallness of it, I guess, but at the same time, it's not that it's the staff and stuff are amazing. Like I said, it's lifelong friends. It's just going to work every morning. It's like I'm never like, oh man, I don't want to go to work. I don't mind the 22-mile drive. When I get to do it by myself, it's pretty nice and quiet. You get to relax. I'll get to do that a lot this year because I don't have anybody else in school. So, but it's just when you pull in and you walk through the doors, it just feels like home, really, like a second home. Like even when you're having bad days and stuff like that, there's always somebody at the school that kind of knows that you're having a bad day, and they go out of your way to make it better. And that comes from staff, students, whoever. I don't know. It's just like it's like just going to a big family dinner every day. There's some dysfunction some days and stuff like that, but it's always fun, and you always get to see that, like just the I can't even, like, the wholesomeness of the school. Yeah, it's definitely worth the 20 years that I've been driving back and forth to Shoshoni. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Tony Truempler joining us here on WyoToday Sports Live, and Coach, 13 years, 10 years in the playoffs. Can you believe that, the legend of Shoshoni football, Harold Bailey, he went 26 years, and he got himself a state championship in 1985. 26 years is a long time. 13 years is a long time in this world these days. And I know Andrew probably remembers back 13 years ago, he was probably riding a bike with training wheels.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, thanks for joining us here this morning, and best of luck. And I hope you know the good fishing spots up in Alaska.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, that's Coach Tony Truempler joining us here, Andrew, and we're going to get right into basketball, and we've got some weary guests who rolled in, was it yesterday?
Basically.
All right, came in yesterday. They're trying to figure out what day it is still, but we've got Shoshoni girls basketball coach Ryan Gilbertson and his daughter Natalie, who really showed the state of Wyoming what it's like to be a freshman star last year. So thanks for joining us, you guys. And you guys made a run at the end of the last season. Couldn't quite get by Grable 2 games in a row in regionals and state, but you made some noise, and I know this group of girls is looking forward to the future.
Oh, absolutely. Natalie was a sophomore this year. She'll be a junior this year. Yeah, Grable kind of had her number this year. He's got a pretty good group up there. The first time we played them at home, gosh, they had us by 26 or something. They got us pretty good, and that was kind of what we referred to all year as our floor. That was kind of the worst game we played, so it was kind of only up from there. We had them, I think, down to 4 or 5 in the final minutes up at Grable to end the regular season. And then when we saw them in regionals in that 3rd and 4th place game, I think we were just a little bit happy to just be there. That one kind of got away from us. They got us pretty good in that consolation championship at state. I think we led almost the entire game, and we were up 1 with 15 seconds to go, and we lost on a buzzer beater. So it was kind of a heartbreaker, but every time we played him, we got a little bit better. And so he didn't lose much this year. We didn't lose much this year. We only had 1 senior. So we got a pretty good group coming back, and we've been putting in a lot of time since the season ended, actually dating back to March. And so these guys, we're going to start off in November in a much, much better place than we were a year ago. And so, yeah, these guys are excited for another shot at this. You guys been hitting the summer basketball tour, so to speak? We have. A couple weeks after the season ended, I kind of wanted to give them a break. These girls spend a lot of time together from the beginning of August clear through the end of the school year, and then doing stuff over the summer, and they don't get much of a break, and they don't get much of a break from each other. And so I was kind of letting them unwind a little bit as they headed into track and soccer and softball. And one day Natalie and I were talking, and I just sent out a group text and said, is anybody interested in getting together and playing? And I was kind of missing them, frankly. And so it was only 2 weeks after that state tournament, and we opened the gym one night, and I think we had 15 girls show up, and almost had my entire group come in and play. And since then, we've been going at least twice a week. We're heading to Casper tonight. We got 4 games at least this weekend at the Wow Hoops tourney. We played up at Northwest College a couple weeks ago. We played out at Arapahoe over Memorial Day, and we played at Casper at the beginning of June. So we have 18 games under our belt since the end of May that we've played, and it's been a long time since they put that type of time in game-wise during the summer, and so been super cool to see. I got a ton of girls that have played, and we've gotten a lot of reps this summer. So been pretty cool, pretty exciting to see them just buy in and be excited to be there, and they enjoy each other and they enjoy what we're doing, and I hope that pays dividends come next year.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of like summer camps, as a player, I know what to like kind of look for, what I'm really aiming for. But as a coach, from a coach's standpoint, what do you look for in the players? Like, maybe the younger girls, the upcoming freshmen, can they, because 8th grade to high school is a big jump. And I think some people kind of underestimate that. From a coach's standpoint, what do you kind of look for in those transitions from 8th grade up to high school?
The hardest part, and what I told our freshmen this year and what I'm telling our 8th graders this summer, is that there's an advantage to the small schools like Shoshoni, just an opportunity, because there's limited number of kids, and the classes ebb and flow. The boys have some pretty light boy classes coming up, but the girls are pretty heavy for a couple years. The disadvantage to Shoshoni is you step in as a freshman, you don't get to play freshman basketball, you don't get to play sophomore basketball. You go from 8th grade basketball to JV basketball. And so we go places like Wyoming Indian, or any schools really. You go to bigger places, and you're playing potentially juniors as a freshman, and it is a big jump. And so I had a couple girls that had some tears this year that were pretty frustrated, maybe with their performance and confidence. And you just kind of have to remind them that, they are playing up and that there is some growing pains that they have to get through. And so, we got 2, possibly 3 8th graders coming up. 2 of them have been playing with us all summer. We picked up another one late. And so they're learning, they're adjusting. My juniors and seniors are phenomenal, and they've welcomed these girls in. And so really right now it's just them playing, and it's playing at our pace and our style. They don't really know what they're doing, but they're there and they're seeing it, and they're being a part of just the culture. And so for us, it's the culture, and then it's just reps. And so, and that goes for everybody. So the older girls need to do what we did, and they just need to take it up a level. The younger girls just need to see how it is, and they need to, frankly, they need to adapt, but they just need to kind of grow into that culture with us.
Yeah, for sure. And I've always thought playing as a freshman, I think, playing up a little bit kind of will pay off in the long run. You'll have those, obviously you'll have those curveballs, those growing pains. But then once I feel like you're up in that junior, senior area, playing big varsity minutes in these big games, all the stuff that you've learned in these, even just watching them, even if you don't play varsity as a freshman or a sophomore, sitting on the bench and being around those kind of environments and the kind of, team, I think it ultimately pays off into what, as a player, you're building, that you can help your team over throughout the, next couple of years of your high school career. So I've always thought that being an underclassman can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, but then also, great coaching staff. If you have a great coaching staff, you have great teammates around you, it can definitely help you out in the long run.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I said, I guess going back to it, when Natalie came in as a freshman, the year before, they'd only had 9 girls just due to injuries, and then, like I said, some of those small classes, and so she got thrown to the wolves. Her and a couple other freshmen that played a lot of varsity minutes as freshmen, by virtue of really not having anybody else, and they lost a couple girls to concussions and all that, and it was a great opportunity for her to learn. I think we have 7 or 8 incoming juniors, and we have a handful of seniors, probably upwards of 5 or 6. I'm waiting to see who's going to be there, but these 2 or 3 incoming freshmen, and then a couple sophomores that we have, are behind a group of literally 12 upperclassmen. And so, lucky, unlucky, they're going to get to learn, and they're going to get to watch a good group of girls do it, and it's only going to pay off for them. Whereas Natalie got to play a lot of varsity as a freshman, these freshmen are probably going to have to bide their time and work their way up through a pretty good crop of juniors and seniors the next couple of years. So it will pay off for them. They just have to be patient and take their reps and understand that JV is a perfect opportunity to learn and play. And so we're working to get as many games as we can for those younger girls, and that's kind of the goal. So
Natalie, is there anything that you'd like to say about playing basketball year round?
It's one of my favorite things. I wouldn't change it for the world. I just think you can learn so much from playing basketball, or I guess any sports in general, not just on the court, but life lessons in general. I just think sports are amazing, and basketball is what I love. It's what I've found, and it's one of my favorite ways to spend my time,
One of the things that I enjoyed watching about your play on the floor last year is there's just no fear. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. It's Shoshoni Lady Blue versus the world.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's taking some time for sure. Playing year round all the time. It definitely is something you kind of have to learn, I guess. And I won't ever take it for granted, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
What do you get out of the summertime in basketball? The game's a little rougher, or they?
Definitely, yeah.
I'm sure that you probably end up with some referees who were part-timers at best.
Yep. Yeah. Summer basketball is a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot rougher, I guess. Kind of have to learn how to play through the contact, different things like that. But you know what they say, great players are made in the off season. So getting to spend time playing in the summer, not only on my own, but with my own team and my club team as well. It's how you get better. It's how you make a good team, and I'm excited what we can do this next coming year, because I think it's going to be good.
All right.
Yeah. Speaking of the next coming year, do you guys have a matchup that you look forward to? I know. I was gonna say probably if I had to guess, it'd probably be Grable, but maybe your top three. I know obviously all the conference games are big, and I know there's a couple 1A teams coming up to 2A like Saratoga.
Saratoga, yeah.
So maybe looking forward to those kind of games.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the North for us is actually, I think, going to be one of the tougher divisions. Bighorn in the East didn't lose much. They got the Cummins girl coming back, and she'll be in the mix for Gatorade Player of the Year next year. Tongue River lost a lot, and they're moving up to 3A. Southeast, I think, graduated their starting five, or not Southeast, Sundance, excuse me, and their coach retired. I don't know what they have coming behind them, because those five kind of ruled the roost the last couple of years. On our side, Thermop lost quite a bit. Unfortunately, at that June tournament, the beginning of June, they lost one of their better players to an ACL, but they play hard, and they're going to be in the mix. Grable, like I said, lost a couple of seniors that didn't really do a ton for them, and they have their big girl coming back that's going to be a senior, two of them, and they're going to be tough. Rocky Mountain, they made a coaching change after we beat them at regionals, and they got some girls coming back that are going to be okay. They're going to be in the mix. We're obviously picking up Wind River in our conference in the North this year, as Saratoga and Fort Washakie, I think, are coming up in the South. And so with that comes that dreaded pigtail game. And so it's kind of a race to make sure you stay out of that 4 and 5 seed. And so our conference matchups are just super, super important this year. And so, everybody's going to be lucky to split across the board and be 1-1 against each other through that conference play. And so it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be competitive, and we're going to have to show up every single night. So I think just on the West, our conference is going to be pretty stacked, and it's going to be a tough ticket to get out of that pigtail game and then get through regionals and get back to state. So going to be interesting.
Max Mills leaves Shoshone, comes over to Riverton, and there's this vacancy at Shoshone High School last year for girls basketball coach, and then the local half of the Billboard stardom guy steps up and says, "I'm going to coach." I know that you probably you have a lot of fun with that, and we always look forward to the new billboards coming out, Ryan. But I don't know if Natalie does, but
her, my wife. Yeah, my wife is. I stopped asking her a long time ago, so she's as surprised as anybody else when they pop up.
So how did it all go down? You ended up coaching Shoshone.
Oh shoot! You know what? Circling back to Tony, 13 years as the football coach. When I taught in Shoshone from 2004 to 2007, I was the head girls coach there, and Marty Weber and I were both the ADs over there for the last 2 years after Harold retired. And Tony came in my second year, so he's got 20 going on 21 years as the wrestling coach. And so to me, that's obviously even more impressive to stick with it that long and to have the success that he's had. And so I was over there and coached those 3 years. Completely different perspective. I wasn't a dad then, and so I was coaching other people's kids. And I don't know if I would have been a better coach 20 years ago, having been a parent, but I would have been a different coach. And I got out of it in 2007 and really had minimal desire to ever get back into it. And when Natalie's group was going into their 8th grade season, they had to promote her coach at the time up to the high school volleyball job because I think that was when Christina Mills came over to Riverton and they didn't have a volleyball coach. And so they asked if I'd be interested in taking that 8th grade job. And my immediate answer was no. And I didn't really think twice about it. And we were at a volleyball game up in Burlington, and a couple of parents said, if you don't do it, they're going to stick a warm body in there. And they asked if I would do it. And so I don't think my wife was really on board at the time, but I decided to do it. And I jumped in and had an absolute blast. And junior high basketball was not something I ever thought I would enjoy or wanted to do. And we rolled through everybody. We won 17 games. We won our conference tournament. They let us go play up in the big school conference tournament. And this group of girls beat Cody. They beat Thermop. They beat Warland, lost to Powell, and we ended up getting 3rd in that big school conference tournament. And had a lot of parents ask if I would be interested. And I said, well, there's not an opening. And I certainly wasn't going to politic for a job and didn't really envision Max leaving anytime soon. And so when he did leave, we were bummed to see him go, but at the same time, I was excited. I mean, I was excited for the opportunity. And so I put everything together and was blessed enough to get the job and truly had one of the best experiences of my life last year. I mean, outside of getting married and becoming a dad, number 3 was last season. Right. Yeah. I mean, it was just a special season across the board. And real quick, I had in end of January, beginning of February, I had a board member call me and was kind of giving me some stats on beating 2A teams and improving the girls and this and that. And I cut him off and I literally told him, I said, I didn't care about the wins and the losses. We were growing. And I said, we're in the beginning of February. And I said, these girls are having fun. They're laughing. They still want to be here. They don't want it to be over. They don't hate each other. Like I said, that's my win. And truly was just such a phenomenal group of girls, a phenomenal experience. Getting to coach with Marty again, who's one of my best friends from 20 years ago when we were there. It sounds corny. It was kind of a moving or a life altering experience to be with these girls. And our open gyms are some of my favorite times during the summer, just all of us being together. And so, yeah, it was phenomenal. And I'm blessed that the job came open. I'm blessed that they gave me the opportunity. And I told the girls, I sent out a remind to the parents a couple of weeks ago about a schedule. And I think I had a countdown. It was 166 days till the first day of practice at the time. And I can't wait. Won't get here soon enough for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. So speaking of that, January, February, what really kind of carried you guys into that regionals run? Because a lot of coaches praise playing your best basketball at the right time, and you guys did a really good job at doing that. Kind of what led up to that and ended up playing your best basketball heading into February and March?
I'd like to tell you it was just all me, but I don't think that was it. I don't know. We truly peaked at the right time. Our very first game of the season, we played Kemmer down in Lyman, and we were down like 16 in the second half, and we came back and we squeaked one out because I think we shot 37 free throws, and it was the longest game in history. And when we played them again in January, which was actually the night after you broke your leg, which was a horribly tough day for all of us to even be there. We had a running clock shortly into the third quarter, and we were up 40 on them. And our growth throughout the season, it truly was just phenomenal. But I think more so than the basketball, my motto for them and our motto will forever be together. It's how we break our huddles. They have clothing that says it. I geek out on the clothing and the gear, and so I load them up. And Natalie's wearing her Believe shirt today. Nice. I gave him those Believe shirts when we went to state. The morning we played Rocky at regionals, we talked in the locker room about adversity and literally said it's kind of us against the world right now, and no one thought we could do it. No one thought we could be there, but these guys did. And so we play basketball every day, but these girls being together and enjoying each other, and just the cohesiveness. That's what did it. Frankly, it was that culture shift of them enjoying the process and having fun at first, and just enjoying the game and learning the game. And so it was a steady growth over those 3 months from December through January and February. And when we went to state, that's what we talked about, was just believing. And man, they bought in, and it was awesome. You know, beating Bighorn on Friday morning at the event center was powerful, just for them to see that they can. You know, Bighorn beat us by 42 up at that tournament in Bighorn in January, and to turn around and actually beat them. You know, their coach sat in the tunnel after that game with his head in his hands, literally for an hour after that game. I actually have a picture of it, but you know, that was a good moment for us. And it was just, like I said, more so than the basketball. We practiced every day, but I think what we grew the most in was just each other and the belief in each other. And we talked every day about believing in ourselves, believing in each other, and believing in what we're doing. And to say they bought in was just an understatement. And it was pretty powerful, pretty cool.
I definitely agree with that. I think that in the past, Shoshoni has never really been at basketball school, I guess, and it never really seemed like the girls enjoyed playing. It was always about volleyball. And I think this year it really changed. Like, everyone loves to play basketball. They're excited to come to open gyms. We're laughing, and before we start playing, we're always shooting around, and we hardly even shoot. We're sitting in the middle of the court in circles talking, just because we enjoy being around each other. And I think I agree that that's what did it for us, is that we didn't have any problems. We loved being around each other. We wanted to play for each other, and we just loved playing basketball for the first time in a long time. And I think that's what led us to our success in state.
So how do you take it to the next level, Natalie?
For next year?
Yeah, for this coming year.
You know, just keep doing what we're doing and having a drive and a passion to want to get better, to keep doing the next things and just getting better. And I think we have that just from what we've seen this summer, the people who are showing up, putting work in, and everything in between. I think it's going to be good. It just, people want to get better. We want to win. And I think we're in for some things next year.
Add some more motivational clothing. I'm running out of slogans to put on a shirt.
I just pull up some of the old billboard designs. Right. You know, you'll have them made. Hey, so you got 4 games this weekend. What's the rest of the summer look like?
A little bit tough. We've struggled a little bit just with sharing, and it isn't anybody's fault. And I know Riverton is going through it right now too. And I've spent a lot of time talking to Sean, the new girls coach here, and we actually scrimmaged Riverton last night for a couple hours, and so just more time on the court. But in the small schools, and all these girls play multiple sports, and they're trying to get volleyball open gyms. They're planning to get basketball open gyms. Our gym floors are getting redone the next 2 weeks, so we're out of gym space until, the second week of July. And kind of at that point, I think we're going to kind of bow out a little bit, try to give them a little bit of a summer and let them transition into volleyball. Not transition, because they've had a lot of volleyball stuff as well, and they've done a great job with that, but more so focus. And so when we get to August 1st, I'll send out my final text and thank them for the summer and what we've done, and then I'll step aside and bow out and let volleyball be the focus through the fall and all that. So we'll get through this weekend. We got a real tough schedule. We're the smallest school in that tournament this weekend by a long shot. So we got Kelly Walsh to start the day tomorrow, and then we follow that up with Sheridan, and then we have the club team out of Gillette, that team 307 in the afternoon, and then it's a single elimination on Sunday. So we'll see where that falls, but so we got a good schedule. We'll be 20 games in through June, and then we'll probably play Riverton a couple more times through July as time allows and gym space allows, and then, like I said, August 1st we'll bow out and let them get ready for volleyball.
Sure.
And so how do those, like these summer camps and then the little scrimmages you have on the side, against Riverton, like you said, Wyoming Indians sometimes, how does it like transition into the regular season, considering the success that you guys had last year? How does that kind of, what's the momentum? How do you carry that momentum into this upcoming season?
Yeah, no, great question. Really, it's just reps. There are a lot of kids, and it's not just Shoshoni; it's everywhere. When the talent pool isn't super deep. Natalie plays on a team out of Boise, and her coach over there is a 6A state champion girls basketball coach from last year. They actually have tryouts for their summer team. You have to make the top 12 out of 50 some girls just to play on the team during the summer. And when you get around here, a lot of kids don't necessarily have to put the time in because they're athletic enough to get their spot when the fall comes around. And so a lot of kids don't necessarily touch a ball from the end of February to the beginning of November. And so for us, it's just maintaining the touches on the ball and playing. And it obviously keeps them in shape a little bit. And so again, coming into November this year, we are so far ahead of where we were last year. So instead of teaching them concepts or teaching them a philosophy, now we start, hopefully we start in November where we were the middle of February. And so we just continue to grow. So it's just stacking days is what it amounts to, and 1 turns to 2, 2 turns to 5, and that's kind of the goal, is just not regressing and building what we got, because we got a good group.
Well, hey, Ryan, we're going to have to get out of here, but
appreciate you guys.
Want to say thanks to Ryan and Natalie Gilbertson for joining us.
Yeah,
Junior Natalie Gilbertson.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to call you a freshman. I'm sorry. But we appreciate you joining us here on WyoToday Sports Live. Andrew, you got any final comments? I mean, it's all been about your alma mater today.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see what both programs can do. As she mentioned, the programs up at Shoshoni have really kind of been football and volleyball, and I think it's slowly starting to shift over to is going to be a basketball school, hopefully, for the next couple of years. So it's definitely exciting to see. I'm excited to see what these guys can do. I'm excited to see what the boys can do this upcoming season.
We got the big 3-on-3 tournament. You guys going to be playing in that, Shoshoni?
No, we'll be gone, out of town.
All right.
We do got some girls that are playing in it though, so it's nice they have the interest, and they did that on their own. And
excellent.
Yeah, Whitener changed that date so it didn't overlap this weekend. So we got some girls that could play. So pretty cool.
Yeah, big basketball event coming up here. They did change the date, so contact Jordan Whitener for information on that tournament. But hey, for Andrew Garcia, for the Shoshoni girls basketball team, I'm Cody Beers. Thanks for joining us here. Thanks to Tony Truempler for joining us. We'll see you next week with more WyoToday Sports Live.